Next, I'd like us to pivot and talk a little bit, have a very short discussion with respect to the HTTP protocol. I know I know I have tagged this section as being an optional section, primarily because you may already know the HTTP protocol. Now, why do I want to explain the HTTP protocol? I'm going to do it briefly. I'm not going to spend too much time here. Primarily because the HTTP protocol is at the it's at the core of all APIs, at least all the modern APIs that we're going to talk about in this course. Okay, and understanding the HTTP protocol is going to help you better understand the different APIs. Okay. Okay. The HTTP protocol, guys, and again, by protocol, we mean a set of rules governing the exchange or transmission of data between devices, at least the protocol in computing. Okay. And the user employs a user agent. The user agent is a tool that acts on behalf of a user. That tool could be a browser. That tool could be a RESTful client. It could be your command line. Any of those. Any. It could be another application. Any of those. Okay. That's what a user agent is. Okay. That's where we get the name from. Okay. It's a tool that acts on behalf of the user. Okay. And those tools, what they're going to do is they're going to form an HTTP request. The HTTP request contains two main elements, metadata and an optional request body. Okay. The metadata contain all the information in order to guide the request where it needs to arrive, all information related to the request or related to the request body and so on. Uh, all of that information are presented in a text format. It's a text format. That's what makes it so simple, so nice to work with. Okay. That request now is going to make use of the internet in order to arrive to the web server. Okay. The web server is going to process the request and is going to create a response. The response equally contains metadata and an optional response body. Okay, the metadata contain the HTTP status codes, contains headers, contains cookies, which of course is a subset of headers and so on. And the body is also optional. Okay, you may have responses. You may have responses that just contain the metadata, nothing else. Okay, so that's how the HTTP protocol works. There's a lot more details underneath, right? For example, the HTTP request is going to be communicating using TCP, right? And it may be, depending on the size, may use multiple packets to be communicated. That's all networking, right? Beyond our scope. We don't care about that, right? I don't want to go to that level of detail. So the only thing you need to understand, it's a request. It's all in text, contains metadata, contains the body. It's going to be communicated to the web server. The web server is going to process it, is going to create a response, and that response is going to be communicated back to the user agent. Okay? And presented to the user somehow. Okay, that's it. Now, what you're going to see next is pretty much I'm going to replace this metadata and bodies with actual data out of a request. Okay, this is your HTTP request. This is an HTTP request I created yesterday when I was updating the slides. Right, the 18th of October. Today is the 19th when I'm doing this recording, in case you're interested. The metadata and the optional request body, in this case there is a request body, is separated by a single empty line. That's what you see here. So on the top you have the metadata, to the bottom you have the body. The very first line indicates the HTTP method, in this case is post. Here's the path, API v1 users. Here's the protocol, HTTP 1.1. The next line contains headers. All of these are headers. Host, where do we locate where do we send this request? In this case was localhost on this port. The user agent, I use command line, so I use the curl tool, command line utility to send the request. Accept, content type, it's JSON data, content length, 106 bytes. That's what you see here. This information now is communicated to the server. The server is going to process this request and it's going to give you a response. Again, the metadata gets separated from the body using a single empty line. And in here, you're going to see it's the protocol HTTP 1.1. Here's the HTTP status codes that indicate the status of this particular request. In this case, was 201 created. And here's the different headers. And here's the response body. Hey, you want to create a new user? Which is exactly what you're trying to do with this type of a request. Here it is. Success. All right, the fact that you see 201 here indicates success right away. This is an API call. How do I know API call? Because I don't see HTML here. I don't see any of that stuff. I don't see images, right? I don't see images being requested. I don't see custom style sheets being requested. I don't see JavaScript being requested, right? I see post users. This is a RESTful API in particular. But irrespective of what request you're sending, it's the same exact thing that's going to happen. You're going to formulate the request, metadata and body, send it to the server, get the corresponding response. Always. Over and over and over again. So here's the very first exercise. I'm going to record the exercise in a separate section. But what we're going to do is we're going to access Google. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to access a specific URL that gives us that renders Google, the Google search page, the Google search engine, right? And we're going to do it using the browser. We're going to do it using curl. We're going to do it using the developer tools, and we're going to analyze the traffic because all the traffic is available to you, right? All the traffic is available to you from within your browser. Again, if you know all that stuff, as I said, this section is optional, right, for the HTTP protocol, and these are general tools that are used throughout. Okay. All right. So section end. We're done with the slides of this particular section. Next section is going to have the actual exercise. Talk to you in the next.